Antarctica stands as a unique continent, distinct from others in various aspects. It lacks a country, government, or indigenous population that has resided there for an extended period. Its extreme cold makes it the coldest continent, with temperatures plummeting as low as -89 degrees Celsius. Additionally, Antarctica holds the record for being the windiest place on Earth, with snowstorms reaching speeds of up to 300 kilometers per hour, posing a risk of blindness. Remarkably, despite its icy nature, Antarctica is also the driest continent and qualifies as a desert. It receives only around 51 millimeters of precipitation, mostly in the form of snow that falls before reaching the ground. Consequently, Antarctica remains largely untouched by human influence. However, this hasn't stopped countries from asserting territorial claims over parts of Antarctica. On the map, you can see that France, Norway, Australia, Britain, Chile, Argentina, and New Zealand all lay claims to various sections of Antarctica. This raises the question of whether Antarctica is genuinely divided among these nations. In today's video, we will delve into the intriguing geopolitics and historical context of Antarctica. Antarctica, a composite portrait of a continent which has challenged man since first he can sail beyond the limits of his horizon. The Antarctic continent is surrounded by frozen seas. The south, the bottom of the world, is considerably colder than the top of the world. These descriptions paint a picture of Antarctica as a captivating and formidable landmass that has captivated humanity since early exploration. Let's delve into the origins of the name Antarctica. The story begins around 350 BC, when the Greek philosopher Aristotle was among the first to propose that the Earth was spherical. At that time, the Greeks were aware of the Arctic regions in the north and had named it Arctos, derived from the Bear constellation. This name reflected their inspiration from the Great Bear constellation visible in the sky. Recognizing the spherical nature of the Earth, they inferred that the north and south would be mirror images and likely share similar characteristics. Consequently, they named the unknown southern region Antarctos, meaning the opposite of the Arctic, Arctos. The first documented human footsteps on Antarctica occurred in the 1890s. However, the continent had already started appearing on maps centuries prior. Early explorers who ventured around the world knew that if they traveled to the southern reaches, they would encounter land. Yet, they remained uncertain about the exact nature and size of the landmass. In 1530, French explorers created a world map that included Antarctica. The map depicted the northern hemisphere on the left side and the southern hemisphere on the right side. The largest land masses in the middle of the southern hemisphere was labeled Unknown Southern Land, Terra Australis Incognita. Approximately 200 years later, in 1773, British naval officer James Cook became the first person to venture south of the Antarctic Circle. Although he didn't reach Antarctica itself, he encountered icebergs with rock deposits on them. This served as evidence of the existence of land in the vicinity. Upon observing the rock deposits, James Cook concluded that Terra Australis indeed existed. However, he believed that it was highly dangerous and nearly impossible to venture much closer to Antarctica. The claim of who was the first person to step on Antarctica remains somewhat controversial. British-American Captain John Davis believed he was the first, as his ship had been lost and he reached the continent. However, the first undisputed landing on Antarctica took place in 1895, when the Norwegian ship Antarctic arrived. 6 to 7 crew members of the ship, including Karsten Borchgrevink, disembarked onto the land. Borchgrevink claimed to have landed before the boat, asserting that he was the first to step foot on Antarctica. However, a New Zealander named Alexander asserts that he was also aboard the boat and was the first to step off to keep it steady while others disembarked. The exact sequence of events and who truly holds the distinction of being the first person to step on Antarctica remains subject to debate. The period of the early 1900s is often referred to as the heroic era of Antarctica due to numerous expeditions and significant scientific discoveries made during this time. These explorations unveiled new aspects of the continent, including the discovery of plant life, such as mosses. Following the heroic era came the colonial period of Antarctica, during which several countries sought to assert their sovereignty over parts of the continent. From 1908 to 1942, 7 countries claimed territorial rights: Argentina, Australia, Chile, France, New Zealand, Norway, and the United Kingdom. Additionally, other countries like the United States, the Soviet Union, Japan, Sweden, Belgium, and Germany conducted explorations on Antarctica without making territorial claims. During Hitler's rule in 1939, a German Antarctic expedition was conducted, involving aerial photography of specific areas of Antarctica. As a symbolic act, metal Nazi swastikas were dropped, implying Nazi Germany's control over the regions where they landed. It is interesting to note that the United States wasn't particularly active during the period of Antarctic territorial claims. In 1924, the U.S. Secretary of State stated that the mere discovery of new land in Antarctica did not automatically grant ownership to a country. He emphasized that ownership would only be established when there were actual permanent settlements by citizens of that country, which did not occur. After the Second World War, the countries with territorial claim Antarctica became more assertive in expressing their claims. While these conflicts didn't involve literal warfare, there was heightened competition and a stronger emphasis on asserting sovereignty. One way countries demonstrated their claims was by establishing permanent research stations in Antarctica. By having researchers living there permanently, they aimed to strengthen their territorial assertions. On the map of Antarctica, you'll notice several islands located near the continent. Australia, for instance, established stations on Hard and Macquarie Islands in 1947. France set up bases on Kerguelen and Crozet Islands in 1953. In 1954, Australia reached mainland Antarctica and established the Mawson Station. Argentina followed suit in 1955, setting up the General Belgrano Station on the Filchner, Runny Ice Shelf. Antarctica's vast ice cover makes it challenging to determine if there is land beneath it all. The map shows different ice shelves surrounding the continent. Establishing research stations had become a political strategy for these countries. And at certain points, the proximity of British, Chilean, and Argentinian bases suggested that they were not solely dedicated to scientific research. It was evident that these stations were also being used for intelligence activities. In reality, the territorial assertions of these nations regarding Antarctica intersect. Please observe this political map of Antarctica. The blue dots represent the current bases of various countries, which are the existing research stations in Antarctica. The Antarctic territories claimed by Norway, Australia, France, and New Zealand can be distinctly delineated without overlapping. However, on the left side of the map, you will notice that the claims of Chile, Britain, and Argentina do overlap. Chile's claims encompass both British and Argentinian claims. In 1950, the Soviet Union government issued a memorandum to the world, stating that it would not recognize any territorial claims or decisions made by countries regarding Antarctica without Soviet permission or participation. This occurred during the Cold War between the United States and Russia, and there were concerns that the two nations might engage in geopolitics in Antarctica as well. Fortunately, that did not transpire. In 1958, US President Eisenhower issued a notice to other governments, advocating for a treaty to ensure that Antarctica would always remain a free and peaceful place. On October 15, 1959, a conference took place in Washington regarding Antarctica. Subsequently, on December 1, 1959, the Antarctic Treaty was signed. The treaty consisted of 3 main points. First, that Antarctica would be utilized solely for peaceful purposes. Second, that scientific research would be freely conducted by all. And third, that the scientific findings would be shared and made accessible to everyone. Initially, this treaty was signed by 12 governments, including those countries that had territorial claims in Antarctica. However, what makes this treaty intriguing is that it did not abolish these territorial claims. Instead, it temporarily suspended them. The political map of Antarctica remains valid, with Australia claiming the largest portion, accounting for 42% of Antarctica. It is important to note that the United States rejects the claims made by these countries. Indeed, it is not only the United States, but also many countries worldwide that reject these territorial claims in Antarctica. Furthermore, the 7 countries claiming land in Antarctica do not recognize each other's claims. France, Australia, New Zealand, and Norway acknowledge each other's claims, but the UK, Chile, and Argentina do not recognize each other's claims due to overlapping territories. At present, the countries' claims over Antarctica hold symbolic value, as Antarctica Treaty temporarily suspended these claims. However, upon the treaty's expiration in 2048, these territorial claims may become significant once again. Whether the treaty will be renewed or not remains to be seen. In the meantime, the treaty has successfully minimized geopolitical tensions in Antarctica, allowing for extensive scientific research. Scientists from different countries coordinate through the International Council of Scientific Union's Special Committee, enabling approximately 4,500 scientists to travel to Antarctica each year for research purposes. Madrid Protocol, signed in 1991, was crucial in protecting Antarctica by imposing restrictions on drilling and mining activities. Its purpose was to prevent environmental damage caused by the exploitation of oil reserves, a practice that many countries have engaged in elsewhere. According to a study conducted by experts from the U.S. Geological Survey in 1992, it was estimated that there were approximately 19 billion barrels of recoverable oil beneath Antarctica. Additionally, mineral explorers in Russia have claimed the presence of approximately 500 billion barrels of oil and gas reserves in the region. Currently, there are 2 main factors preventing oil mining in Antarctica. The first reason is the Madrid Protocol, a treaty designed to safeguard against such activities and ensure protection for the continent. The second reason is the high cost associated with conducting oil mining in Antarctica, which makes it economically impractical at present. However, the situation may change in the future due to climate change. As the ice melts, it becomes more accessible, and advancements in technology may make oil extraction more affordable. Additionally, the Madrid Protocol is set to expire in 2048, and if it is not renewed, the possibility of oil mining in Antarctica could arise. Some countries, like China, have already been involved in exploiting the region through activities such as fishing and tourism. China has even established research stations in Antarctica since 2000, unlike any other country. Furthermore, there have been instances of private yachts illegally exploiting the natural resources of mainland Antarctica, as reported in 2018. There is a growing discussion among several countries about the need for a new treaty to regulate the ocean surrounding Antarctica. The purpose of such a treaty would be to prevent overfishing, ensure that no illegal activities occur in the area, and establish it as a protected zone. Since 2003, the Antarctic Treaty has had a permanent physical presence with its headquarters in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Antarctica is not a country, but a political territory where countries collaborate and share power equally. However, Antarctica lacks a police force, army, and legal system, leading to exploitation of loopholes in the treaty. For instance, tourists can get their passports stamped at British, Chilean, and Argentine stations, which symbolizes territorial claims. The question remains about the future of Antarctica. Should the current arrangement continue, with collaborative efforts no mining or drilling, and access allowed for scientific research and tourism? Or should Antarctica be further explored? Feel free to comment below and share your thoughts. Bye.